One more time for the signalist. Jump and twist. All the girlfriend, your boyfriend, husband, and give a kiss. Give a kiss. Anyway, HillzFM, Thursday week, yeah. My name's Isiah. That's who I am. Yeah, so, why am I? Yeah, I'm Isiah. No, I mean, really, sort of very deep, very sort of spiritual. Born here in Coventry. Parents came from Jamaica. Mum came from St. Mary's in Jamaica. Dad came from Negro, Westmoreland in Jamaica still. And they both met here. Still, that's who I am. As I said, I was born in Coventry. You know, everything right now at this time is really good, I would say. It's life, and I'm just enjoying life at this time of my life still. Seeing life for what it is, realistic as well with life. So at the moment, I'm in that place of finding heaven on earth. Really, if that makes sense. Next tune I'm going to play, right? I play one for the people who had music from a long time. Not that long ago. Life is lovely. Life is what you make life, I think. And I mean, and I think in my younger days, I used to make life more difficult for me. It would be like saying, my grandmother was showing me the good ways, like to walk through the door, but I tried to walk through the wall, and ended up with a lot of bruises and scars, trying to walk through the wall, not listening, and being probably the hard-eared person I was as a young person. And eventually, I decided to walk through the door, and it's become much more simpler, walking through the door than trying to walk through a brick wall. Music is, to me, it's been like a message, really, and it's also, to me, helped not just my physical life, but that life that runs parallel to my physical life. So. Reign of Terror. Yeah. How you gonna say that about that? I think music was always played in my house. My grandmother and a gram. I think music was there from the first music of Desmond Dekker and tunes like that, and going before that probably had Elvis Presley and Jim Reeves, right? And them kind of music was always played in my house still. So music, so I got a lot of inspiration. My grandmother used to sing around the house and things like that as well. And I just used to like walk. When I used to walk a lot of music used to come to me. I used to like sing to myself and things like that. When I used to walk on the streets, singing to myself, and then I would kind of hear the music on top of the pops. Now I always thought it was copying me, really. Maybe it was just something in the air, in the vibe still, yeah. Yeah, so that's how I sort of started to get into music. And then I think before leaving school, I used to go to all the discos and that at school, listen to music there. And then when I started to left school, I started to hang around with sound systems, really, and sound systems, and started to hold the microphone, started to talk on sound systems. Then it went on to sort of writing lyrics. Well, not writing lyrics because I couldn't write very well. So I used to make up lyrics and just do things on the spur of the moment on a microphone. Sometimes it would work great, but there's not much consistency because then it wouldn't work so good. Right? So there's a few times I got cheered, and a few times I got booed, really still, because I've just worked off inspiration. It was nothing like I sat down and wrote and planned it. It's what came to me, I just said it, really. We used to just do music because I think it became also alongside the whole Rasta movement where he was putting out a message. So the music was he was using the music as a vehicle because, at that time, the whole Rasta movement in England, all around the world, but in England particularly where we were, the Rasta movement was rising. When I was in my teens, middle teens, probably 17, 18, the Rasta movement was rising at that time. So music was like a message. It wasn't like we wanted to become professional or things. So we wasn't really looking at the professional world because the music we were listening to was kind of underground, where Bob Marley sort of started, and then he kind of came out of that. we wouldn't listen to Bob Marley. We'd be listening to music that was more underground. So it wasn't, and when I started the music, it wasn't looked at that professionalism. It wasn't anything that I wanted to be on top of the pops or anything like that. Although my grandmother said to me, she thought she'd see me on top of the pops, really still. Right? Right, so she must have seen something. But it was just getting a message across. I think I started by learning psalms and like talking bits of psalms or bits of cultural things that related to my liberty or my culture, really, which was not on the telly. You had lyrics. I used to make up lyrics and things like every DJ is a natural newsreader, entertainer, teaching about roots, identity, and culture, really. So that was the thing that we came because we recognised that we wasn't in that world of pop music and professional music, as they would say. We was in the world of underground music, and the music was a message. The music was a vehicle to get that message across, really. So when you said professional, I had to think there because it was we had no links with that, really. And I think in them times I used to make up lyrics, but I would never want to send them away. I never trusted the system to send my lyrics away. So it was very personal. And also, if it wasn't cultural things I was talking about, it was things that happened personally in my life. So it was very personal to me, where maybe I wanted to share my experiences. HillzFM, HillzFM, Williams Brothers, reporting for duty, yo. Well, HillzFM, right, I got involved with HillzFM when it was on the internet. Now, my brother was involved in Hills before I was. Really, he was one of the first lot to be involved in HillzFM. I got in HillzFM involved after, where we came together with the idea of the Williams Brothers, really, where it was like we done a show on HillzFM. I brought the idea to Hills at that time, and they seen it and they accepted it. Really, two brothers working together on HillzFM, and that's how it started. So I've done that, and also while working on HillzFM, because of my organisation skills from earlier, I always like to get involved in the organisation of anything that I'm getting involved with. So I became, sat on the steering group. Then I became the chair of the steering group, where I was chairing the steering group. That's the HillzFM radio, the steering group for the HillzFM radio. Now that HillzFM gave us a great opportunity, right, as the Williams Brothers, to put forward our background. You know what I mean? Because of what we've been through, we wanted to put forward our experience through music and talking, really. Yeah. So and HillzFM. So also after that, I went on to sit on the board for the whole Watch building, because HillzFM is part of Watch, which stands for Working Actively to Change Hill Fields. It's an organisation that's been set up we're talking about in the 90s, really, where residents came together and set up this organisation. So that's Watch, which HillzFM is a part of Watch. HillzFM was set up, or the idea of Bill Hall, who's a popular person in Coventry, and I know Bill Hall well. He knows my dad. I know him very well. So that helped me as well, because so Bill gave me a rundown of what happened at HillzFM, how it became about, really, and I just find it great working for a community radio station. And from Mr. Viegos, you know, yeah. HillzFM does a lot of work with young people, and working with young people, outreach work and things like that. Really, a lot of this goes on behind the scenes, working with young people and also working with disadvantaged people. They've had a couple of schemes working with HillzFM that work with the radio to get build people's confidence, right? And build people's confidence. People out of work, they've got one thing what they call skills with Hills, which is getting people skilled up in the community and bringing up their confidence by doing radio work with them and going on the radio and things like that. So that's one of the outreach things that they do with the community. There's a lot. Also, there is a library there as well, which is in the Hills building, which works with the community, and lots of other things that Watch do. Watch, the organisation, which is the mother of Hills, do to work with the community. My music, what I think my music brings to the community is I try to bring a message of self-development, of inner strength. Right, is a message that I try to bring through music and confidence, because I think my journey through life, right, music helped me, and I've talked to so many people that music has helped, especially reggae music, really, right, that's helped people to understand themselves and to develop themselves and to feel confident within themselves, right. It's a great social music, and I says it was last year, the year before, it was given. It was recognised by the UN as a great social music, and speaking for the social issues that are going on across the world, right? So, something when I'm talking about social issues across the world, I think it's power for the people, really, and I think it's a way to give people hope and belief, not just in a better world, but a better self. The music, I think, in me and what it's done for me and helping me, I think it can do for others, really. And as I said, it gave me a sense, it helped me to bring out my inner self and help to also develop myself in a sort of, coming up I was a bit angry with the world and a bit aggressive in the way in the way that anger came out. What music, the reggae music has done for me is to make me look to myself and make myself a better person, right? And to deal with that anger, right? And to get to the root of it, of the anger, why the anger has it. So the music has helped me to point to self, right? And develop myself in a way that I can put myself across better, right? Which before I couldn't sit down and have this conversation with people. I've been a lot of grunting, I'm mumbling, really, because I probably couldn't be so articulate in getting things across. Music has helped me to do that. Probably the first place I started to talk, because if people know me when I was younger, I wasn't a talker, right? I didn't used to talk, and the only way you could catch me talking is probably with a mic in my hand, and that was how I would talk, really, and then it sort of developed from there, because I just thought I had something that was in me that wanted to come out and share with people, really. And music helped to bring that out. I remember talking to somebody who was in the National Front once, and he said reggae music pulled him to accept all nations, right? And also to come out the National Front and to start playing reggae music. He plays reggae music now, really. So being from a National Front, he used to like reggae music when he was a National Front, but then you get to realise the whole one love and the whole thing of working with different nations and different people working together. And now, as I said, he's playing reggae music. Really. So yeah, it's powerful, really, and that power, it's helped me, because as a person coming up, my grandmother gave me a lot of teaching. But my time of coming up, there was a lot of Rasta influenced music, which was talking about peace and love and a culture, black culture, injustice, right? So I could relate to that, right, when they talked about injustice, because as a person passed through injustice yourself, when the music was talking about injustice, I could sort of relate to that, really, and start to take it on as a way of life, really, because as I said, the whole Rasta thing, the whole Rasta movement, Haile Selassie, Africa, Marcus Garvey, all these things were linked to that. As I said, it started on the injustice that was on a certain set of people, right? The injustice what was on them people, but then everybody who went through injustice could relate. I mean, I've looked at people on YouTube, I've seen people in India, in Africa, all over the world, right, playing, singing, or playing sound systems, or singing reggae music, right? And, and sometimes we have to give homage or give honour to the people that sort of was singing all of this music and wasn't getting no money for it. You know what I mean? And people that sort of sweat, blood, sweat and tears for this music to see where reggae music is now. And I think, right, a lot of that came from Jamaica. A lot of Jamaican artists didn't get that recognition, right, for what they had done for this business. And they never lived long enough to see how reggae music now is all over the world, every corner of the world, talking of social issues. I think there's a few messages. I think Bob Marley probably summed up one of them is one love. And let people come to this kind of one love, one heart, let's come together and sing. It's about power to people, right? The voiceless sort of people. When I say voiceless, the ones people's voices not being heard in that political world, really. And I think that it's knocked down a lot of political walls. So I think the unheard people, you know what I mean, whether they're poor, and a lot of injustice has been done against them, people maybe still being done now, and that goes across all colours and things. Because from you being treated unjust, I think reggae music is talking for you. So I think it's a message of the poor and needy and the voiceless sort of people. Yeah. Before I say that, I will say first that I don't look at a man, but what comes from that man sometimes, right? Because you can get disillusioned if you watch a man, right? Because sometimes what a man is singing is not exactly what he's doing, right? So I would like to say that first. So I would like to anybody to say, no, because that's why this fame thing and that, this man is great. It's, you know what I mean? If somebody looked at me and said, I'll be saying it's not me. I'm just I'm a vessel that this is coming through, really. Artist that's been a good vessel, Bob Marley, I'd have to say that, Peter Tosh, all the Wailers, Bunny Wailer, there's people like sort of Jimmy Cliff, you know what I mean, from them times, right? So you got Bob Marley, you got Jimmy Cliff, you've got Wailing Soul, there's so many Wailing Soul. So there's lots of old artists, I can't even remember all of them. They got some newer artists, really, when you look at people like Chronics, you look at people like Coffee in some ways, right? But I will say that it is changing, really, because, like before, when we talked about music as a school, you could actually say, right? You could actually sit down and play music certain music in a classroom, and it'd be like a school. I think now you get artists not sticking to message music, right? Some of it is about the glitter and the gold, right? And then sometimes it might be a bit harder to separate. So for you asking me what artists, I would say to go out and seek, I would say people like Luciano now, as Luciano the Messenger, as he calls himself, I would say that he would be a good artist now to listen to. There's people like Caperton, there's so there's some people out there. But as I said, when we were coming up, as I said earlier, the music thing, it wasn't about I want to make a top music. It was about getting the message out there. And I think, right, people can get caught up in the glitter and the fame and all the lights, because even Bob Marley, some Rastas would say, when I met some elder Rastas when I went to Jamaica, would say that people started to follow Bob Marley instead of the message. So Bob Marley became the man, and that's what I said earlier. It's not about that man, it's about the message that comes through the music, right? Because when you hear things like when Bob Marley sing, when I hear the words of the Rasta man say, Babylon, your throne gone down, gone down. Now that came from a Rasta chant. That came from Bob Marley sitting down with the Rastas, and that was just a chant, and he made it into a song, really. So, yeah, so I don't watch man. I look at the message that God uses a man to get the message through, really, or that spiritual being, that message comes through the person, really. So, yeah. I would say it's stronger than ever now, right? You know what I mean? And the thing is, sometimes, as I says, there's two worlds, and I think within music and within anything, there is two worlds. There's a world that shows you light, and there's a world that shows you darkness, really. Right? I wouldn't say every song shows you light, right? I think you need the light to have a little light in yourself, and that will enlighten what's in you. As I said to you earlier, right, the music helped to lighten, bring out what's in me. That's what it pulled that out. And I think that's what people have to look at. It's not looking at, we tend to want to use these two eyes and look at a man and say how that man is great and that out there is great. But what we don't do is look into ourselves and see the greatness that lies within us. Because that man may be a spark or something in me. But it's not all about that man. And I mean, some people do that. We're going to go crazy over a man instead of what is coming out of that man and what can I learn and take away and make myself a better person.
But tell me if this feeling is true. Something passing through. Or is it something passing through? Or is it something passing through? People go to church and say I do, but that doesn't mean the feeling true. It is more things that you do that means your love is true. Stand for the dance, for the party, and time you notice you don't watch me. Did the power song with a calm Maccabee. Sly auntie me for calm mommy. Shoot, 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 shoot. Shoot it up, shoot it up.